What's up, guys? You already know what it is. We're back again. That's right. r/unpopular opinion. And whew, yeah, let's go ahead and just jump straight into this one. All right. So I know this is going to be quite shocking to all of us, but I don't like open world games and games with different endings based on choices.
This is stupid.
Whew. So let's go ahead and read it. Let's go ahead and read it, and we'll discuss afterwards. So when I play games, I try to enjoy it 100%. So when I play games, I try to enjoy it 100% it.
Like completing it 100%, so like any achievements or any kind of like end game block stuff like that.
Yeah, I got that, but there should be like phrase. Anyways,
it's terrible.
See how fast I can play through it. There are always too many choices in these kinds of games that I never know what I want to do to have the best playthrough. I often find myself Google what different outcomes do or what quests to do first, and of course that, I'm assuming he means ruins the game for me. I enjoy an in-depth story that you just play through with barely any choices. For example, the Zelda games, not Breath of the Wild. I didn't like this one. Okay, so
I hate him.
I'm not saying he's wrong, but I think he has a very narrow-minded approach to the game.
100%.
So he has two diametrically opposed ideas of trying to 100% a game and trying to play it through it as fast as you can, because those are literally the opposite ends of the spectrum. Like if I'm trying, no, like if you think about it, right, 100% in the game means I want to do every single thing possible inside of the game to have thoroughly completed it, right? So when you sit down and you're like, I'm going to 100% Elder Scrolls, or I'm going to 100% Breath of the Wild, right? Or like some crazy game, right?
No, okay, they actually have done that.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, but that takes forever. Like, to do it takes forever. As opposed to seeing as fast as you can play through it, which is its own category called speedrunning, where you try to go through the game as fast as humanly possible. So he's comparing two complete opposite parameters like it just doesn't make sense.
I mean, okay, have you ever seen a not Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time speedrun, 100%?
I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen some of it.
Like it's crazy, and it can take up to like 6 hours.
And that's with people who have been doing this run for forever.
And like glitching through the game.
Well, and like they know the run back and forth. Like they know every aspect of the game. They know exactly what they need to do all of it. Like they know all of this. You don't just like, if you're trying, like you're either trying to do that, or if you're trying to do like the OG, like shout out, old school Rooster Teeth, right? Back when they were trying to 100% all the games, like Ray, all those guys, like they'd sit there, play the game start to finish, no assistance outside. They just play the game, right? And they'd get it done and they get 100% on it, right? That's like another way to 100% games, right? And that's perfectly logical. I mean, I'm sure you tried to do that in Halo. I know I tried to do it in Halo and some COD games. Like, it's really fun and enjoyable to do. Like, even to this day, I still try to get some achievements in games that I play. Like, obviously, achievements are my first thing, but I'm like, oh, hey, cool, I got an achievement? Oh, man, what do I need to do to get another one? It's like they're fun to get. So it's like, you can't try to speed run 100% while also trying to play it as fast as possible, unless you're intentionally trying to do like 100% speed run. In which case, it would conflict with something else he says, where he says he doesn't want to have to look up what to do. And if you're trying to 100% any game, unless you're the first person trying to 100% something, and even then you're probably still looking stuff up, you'd probably want to look stuff up. There's very few blind 100% runs that are doing it for speed, because that's not the efficient way of doing it for speed. It's like you'd want to minimize the amount of like unknowns and randoms as possible and help negate them by doing research. So that being said, all of that aside, like all of his errors and content, like incontinuities inside of his comment here, I will, on a fundamental level, say that developmentally, video games with multiple choice endings and where the player has more decisions are better video games than games where you do not.
I mean, like, I see what I think I get where you're going at. I think it depends on like what you're going for and what you're buying that game and playing that game, like what you're trying to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're playing a game like I have no mouth and I must scream. That game is a very old game that you played on like DOS, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a point and click adventure, very linear, but it had multiple choices for certain other things.
Yep.
I mean, the story wise, if you just pick basic options, I mean, it was pretty much just a straight narrow path. Mm-hmm. But if you went and did all the other options and stuff, you get a bunch of shit.
Well, but like, okay, like look at it this way, right? Like I think you and I
Like-
can safely agree that Halo has some of the best story in the world, right?
Yes.
Like for pure campaign, Halo's amazing, right?
Not a lot of choices there.
Then we can compare that to I don't know, let's pick a random game made by the same developers. Let's go with Destiny, right? Destiny.
Right.
Not the greatest campaign. Really great lore. Campaigns kind of
Yes.
suck. So,
Yes.
but you see, right? Both made by the same developers. Both of them are non-choice driven campaigns, right? Like it's a very railroady campaign where you're basically playing a video, right?
You
like for
play
all
shoot man and you shoot
yeah,
bad guy.
for all intents and purposes, you're controlling the gun in a very good cinematic video, right? Like that's basically all you're doing in those video games, which we can see has its ups and downs. We have the greatness of the Halo games, where I mean, arguably Halo 1 through 3, Reach, ODST, those games were amazing. I'm not as fussed about the later ones, but I mean, you know, those games were amazing.
Was fine.
Super great story. Like the story was amazing. You constantly were wanting to learn more about the world, but you also didn't have to download an app to learn the story, right? You got it from playing the game. And then afterwards, you're like, man, I want to know more. And then you look and you're like, wait a second. There's books, there's like TV shows, like what? There's anime? I can look at all this stuff? Like, oh, this is awesome, right? As opposed to Destiny, we were literally forced to leave the platform if you wanted to find anything, like, which is just crazy to me. Like, what? Hello? Like, you shouldn't punish people for being interested in the story. You should reward them for that and give it to them there. So all of that being said, those are two different ways of looking at open world games, right? Like, or sorry, at closed, like for lack of better terms, railroad games, right? Where you're stuck on a railroad and you're doing whatever the railroad
Pokemon
goes.
Snap.
Yep.
Pokemon Snap. There you
Then-
go. That's a good way to explain it.
And then opposed to that, other games with very loose stories, right? Like you have your Fallouts, you have your Elder Scrolls, right? You have like all these big name open world games, right? Those games, you can kind of do whatever you want. Breath of the Wild, you can kind of decide to, like, there's obviously a story there that you can choose to partake in, but you can also just kind of do other stuff and have other stuff happen, right? And you can just like kind of see where it goes. D&D, in my opinion, greatest game, full stop. I think D&D is bar none the greatest game you can possibly play as a human being, like for entertainment value and enjoyment. Grossly unbalanced, but I mean that's fine because everything's broken, so it works. But that being said, like that game, you literally, like, what you do correlates directly, if you have a good game at least, correlates directly to what happens in the world. And I think the closer you can get to that in a video game form within reason makes the game more enjoyable, because you're not just AFK playing a movie, right? You're not just like controlling the gun inside of a movie. You're actually impacting the world and you're changing the environment. I think that the idea of a story-driven campaign, while very enjoyable, is also not done anywhere near as well as it used to be. So because of that, we prefer, or at least I think that games where I get to make the decisions are better, because in that way I can get mad at myself or enjoy myself for making the decisions. That being said, though, I don't think it needs to be as complicated as a lot of the games make it, where you have to like, oh, well, you have to go turn in rice to this one person 14 times in a row, and if you turn the rice the right way 14 times in a row, then you get the good ending. Or, oh, I have to go chase this monkey. It's like, it should be, I am presented with a storyline. I make my decisions based off what I think is interesting inside of the storyline, and then the game reacts based off of that, you know? Like, go ahead.
Something that I like a lot about like these also types of games is there's replayability, like with all of these things. So it's like, okay, I beat the game. Okay, I didn't do some things. Now I'm gonna go back and do it.
Yep, exactly.
So it's like, oh, I didn't do like some of the things in Breath of the Wild. I'm starting a new playthrough right now, actually. And like I am going through some of the main stuff, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna grab that. Oh wait, I didn't do any of this stuff over on like this side of the map. I barely did anything. So I'm gonna go over there and do it. Go do that.
Yeah, exactly. There's replayability. Like a really interesting example of this that I found recently, just unintentionally actually, was watching a YouTube channel, Friends Without Benefits, right? They were doing a playthrough of Detroit Becoming Human, and in their playthrough, the guy like fully portrayed a robot, right? Like that was his playthrough, is he wanted to do only decisions that robots would make, which ended up in a lot of the story being cut off because they kind of just did what a robot would do, which I thought was really interesting, because the game like almost punished him for making his own decision, right? So it's like he made the but it was also logical, right? Like he made the choice to do what he did, and the game was like, okay, well, that was like, they wanted to show that it was like the wrong decision almost, quote unquote, right? So like they punished him for it. Yeah, which was like really interesting to me, because it's like, as a developer, if you're trying to create like obviously Detroit Becoming Human is a bit more than just an open world game, but if you're trying to create like a truly open world game where you're trying to enable different endings and different outcomes, it needs to be based around the player's decisions and not punish the player overtly for making a decision that you didn't want them to make, right? Like
that's a game that has a lot of different endings and has a lot of different scenarios of like what you can do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, again, tying it back to D&D, because if you're talking about open world, you can't really get away from talking about D&D, right? Like if we're playing D&D, right, and you have a crazy idea that you want to do, as long as it's within reason and within the ability of the rules and you roll accordingly, you more or less are able to do it, right? Obviously, there's certain scenarios where this isn't the case, but like, you know, like
punching a dragon in the nose.
Yeah, like you could theoretically, you could punch dragon in the nose. Is it going to work out for you? I don't know. Maybe it works out for you. Maybe you get toasted. Like, there's a lot of variables, right? Like, and especially depending on the rule set of whatever game you're playing, like, there's a lot of variability, right? But like, you need, like, if I'm the DM, right, and I'm playing with you, and you as a player make a decision that I don't agree with, that is still your decision, right? And I can't punish, like, well, as long as it's within the rules and within the logic of the game and understandable to the world, right? I can't punish you just because I don't like it, right? Like, maybe I give, you know, maybe there's the option to kill a prisoner or to not kill a prisoner, and you're a chaotic evil, right? And you decide to kill the prisoner. Now, me as a DM, I could think, oh, wow, killing the prisoner is really not right there. But as a DM, it is also not my place to punish you for making a decision that's in line with your character, right? Like, if you were lawful good and you decided to kill the prisoner who was unarmed, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then obviously as a DM it would be in my rights to go, hey man, that's like kind of against your like whole thing. Like you're gonna actually start seeing some repercussions from that, and if you continue on this line, you know, something will continue to happen, right? But like, it's not my decision to punish them to do something that's in line with their character, right? Which is like, I think the issue that you see with a lot of open world games today is that developers try to They try to go open world, but they don't actually feel comfortable enough to do open world, so they end up doing like a pseudo open world while also railroading it, which is like the worst in my opinion.
The last like good one was definitely Breath of the Wild in my opinion.
Yeah,
like you can genuinely, you start the game and okay, go do the thing, go do whatever you want.
You can literally go do it. Like, you can not pay attention to the story at all, or you can go like directly fight Ganon.
You can go fight Ganon. You can fight him with the twig if you want.
You can like, yeah, exactly. It's like, it's very, very similar to D&D, where you can literally like go do whatever. You know, it's like, hey, you guys are in a town. What do you want to do? And you're like, well, I want to kill the barkeeper. And you're like, all right, I guess we have a prison break next episode. Let's go. You know, it's like,
and then, like it's just so fun with that kind of stuff, with like, especially with that D&D. You just don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's like,
yeah, it's so good.
It's like, it's the responsibility of the game devs when you're trying to create an open world to remember that you are creating an open world. Like, if you are advertising a game as open world where your decisions matter, then you need to actually make a game that reflects that, right? You can't say it's open world and be like, oh, but you know, you kind of actually have to, you know, do this and this if you want the actual good ending, or, you know, it's like, it's like, I understand catering to an ending, right? Like, if I'm playing a D&D campaign, and my idea for the campaign is that they're going to be, you know, this good party that saves the town, and then eventually, you know, they get to fight the big bad, right? And on the first night, all of the party decides to like murder everyone in the bar. Obviously, we're not going to get the good ending anymore because they're going to be in jail the next episode. But
murder hobos.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you guys go full murder hobos, which don't do, PSA to all our watchers, don't be murder hobos. It's bad. But if you guys do go full murder hobos, right? Like, it's still, as an open world game, I need to continue on that line. Like, oh, well, you guys murdered everyone in the bar, so you're going to jail. You are now in jail. You're still open world. You're just in a different environment, right? But like, the issue that I see with a lot of open world games is they try to like force you into a specific thing. Like, oh, well, you can't murder that person. Or if you do, then the game just ends and it puts you back to the last checkpoint. It's like, well, no, I murdered them. Like, let me see what happens. Like, put me in jail, you know? I want to see how it plays out.
I think it was Morrowind. That was like one of the ones where you can just kill like quest NPCs. It's like, I know, I genuinely, my guys kill everybody. Yep, you can do that in this game.
Yeah, well, I don't, you know, it's just very fascinating. And like, I think as a whole, game development is like in a really interesting place, because I think like the gaming community at large is, I don't know, it seems like we are constantly asking for new and different things, but also asking for the oldness, you know, because it's like,
oh yeah,
the more you see games come out, the more people negatively react to them, but we all still play them. You know, it's like, you know, nobody was psyched for a Fallout BR, but everybody's still going to play it. You know, it's like nobody wanted this, but everybody's still going to play it because it's new. But at the same time, you also see everybody going, oh man, you remember how good Halo was? You remember how good the campaigns were? Man, I miss Halo campaigns, right? You know, or oh hey man, you remember playing old Zelda? Man, I miss old Zelda. Or oh hey, you know, Banjo-Kazooie, you know, let's go play that. Hey, you know what? Let's go play some Byro. Exactly, Minecraft. You know, it's all these people going back to what was actually open world or what was actually good story. And
wow.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's going back to what was better than what is currently out there. And I think it's really like kind of a call to action for all game developers out there to just kind of get their act together and put out content that is
contained.
Well, that is actually true to what they state, right? Like either make a good story-driven game or make an open world game, but don't try to fuse the two of them just because they're hot, or don't just make BRs because everybody's making BRs and you're trying to make money. Loot box. Yeah, exactly. Like make a game that you would be proud of playing, right? Like don't just make what's out there and what's popular.
There's very few of those people still
Yeah.
left. Very, very few. And Nintendo is like one of the last ones that I believe that are still kind of out there. And when they make a game, they're like first party wise, anyways. When they make that game, they're making that baby with like the best that they can possibly can. So.
Yeah, I mean, look at Mario games. They're like basically all the same, like dumbed down significantly to some degree. But I mean, they're all still Mario. Like, you know, you can play them and it'll be more or less similar to what you played when you were growing up. You know. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, like I think the skill gap has kind of decreased on them, but that being said, like it's still you can still play them and be like, wow, that's fun.
Odyssey definitely raised up the skill gap though.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase it. But not those Mario games, like the Mario one where you're like running along a side scroller. Those ones. Gotcha. Yeah, not Odyssey. Odyssey is amazing. Like all of like Nintendo's games in that aspect are amazing, and one of the few publishers that are actually still out there doing the thing.
Yeah,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for watching. Let us know what you think about this one. Top right hand corner, there'll be a poll on your screen. Let us know what you think about open world games. Comment down below. All that fun stuff. Thank you for watching. Ooh, yeah. That's a good one. What's your favorite open world game? All right. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day.